Welcome to Scrubbed In, the DVM Journey, the podcast where we dive into the wild, rewarding, and sometimes unpredictable world of becoming a Doctor of Veterinary Medicine. I'm your host, Grace Gaynor, a current third-year veterinary student at the Virginia, Maryland College of Veterinary Medicine. Whether you're an aspiring vet, a vet student, or just passionate about animals, this is your backstage pass into becoming a DVM. From classroom to clinic, we're sharing the insights, tips, and real-life experiences to help you thrive on your journey to becoming a vet. So scrub in, and let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of Scrubbed In. I'm your host, Grace Gaynor, and today I'm super excited to welcome back my dear friend, Eric Marker, current third-year veterinary student here at the Virginia, Maryland College of Veterinary Medicine. Eric, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me back, Grace. It must not have been too bad the first time.
Oh no, not at all. It was so fun. I insisted that I have him back. And today we're going to discuss how to choose veterinary externships, from how to set them up to steps to creating your awesome experience. And this will be especially useful for current second years who have their first 5 rotations this summer, and then also third years who have their 4th year planning going on right now. So let's get into it. Eric, last summer you had 2 externships and you have 4 coming up in your 4th year.
Correct.
Can you walk us through what you did for your 2 externships, kind of how that experience was for you?
Sure. So first externship was 3rd block. I went to, here at VMCVM is 3-week externship, so it's a little weird.
Yeah.
I ended up at 3 different dairy practices in Wisconsin, which was super great because, Virginia's not the dairy land.
Yeah.
So ended up in Wisconsin for 3 weeks at 3 different practices because at University of Wisconsin they do 2-week externships. And they're not used to having 3-weekers, so I had to split it up a whole bunch of different weird ways. Absolutely amazing. Anyone that wants to go into food animal practice, obviously if you want to do dairy, if you just want to do beef, take at least 1 externship, go to a dairy practice, whether that's California, New Mexico, New York, Wisconsin, somewhere that's an all dairy practice. It has pretty decent sized dairies because there's nowhere else you're going to get that palpation experience, the flow of cows through a farm and their management and husbandry decisions.
Yeah.
Can't recommend that enough for any food animal, at least bovine, aspiring practitioner. And then after that, my last rotation this summer was we have to do a public corporate. So a lot of them are more small animal geared. Yeah. Like one of them is you can go work for a dog food company. Well, I have no desire to make dog food. Yep. Or treats or Nutramax or whatever. Yeah. So I ended up at the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services in their Withville office, which at first I didn't totally know what to expect because that rotation, at least in the Withville office, is very much what you make of it. Yeah. So when I was there, we would spend mornings either talking with Dr. Fletcher, who's the regional veterinary supervisor for Withville, about at that point in time is when screwworm was kind of ticking back up. Mm-hmm. So I'd sit in with him, talk with him, sit in on some meetings for VDEX as a whole with the state vet. And then afternoons, you might be with the dairy inspector or cattle inspector, livestock market inspector, whatever, walking through livestock markets, making sure every animal has an EID tag, they're treating animals properly. And then afternoons, if you weren't out on the road with someone, one of the inspectors, typically afternoons were with Dr. Lavelle, who was absolutely amazing. He's the diagnostician for the Withville lab. So any necropsies that come to the lab, those are all his purview. And then it's a total full necropsy. We take gross lesions, pictures of everything, histopath, and then they do in-house microbiome, PCR. They do have a MALDI-TOF, which was cool for like next-gen sequencing of bacteria. They'll do serology, joint fluid, whatever you need in-house. And then all of our fixed specimens came here to Tech for the pathologist to read. But amazing experience at Withville. Not a huge caseload, which was nice. Maybe if I was already had pathology here at the school and then going to Withville would be a different story. But as you finish your second year and you get thrown into clinics, you don't know that much. At least you
Yeah.
feel like you don't know that much.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have a slower pace with.
Yeah.
Dr. Lavelle's an amazing diagnostician, and he'll tell you that, but he's also not a pathologist, which was super helpful because he spent 20 some years as an ambulatory food animal vet and then is finishing his career out at the diagnostic lab. But it's great to be able to sit down with someone that's not throwing out these crazy words and talking about perivascular cuffing around this vessel, and this means, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
That's your job.
Yeah.
But it was great to sit down with him and say, okay, this lesion looks like this. These are my 3 differentials. I want to test for this. And we'll send it to histo, we'll send it to microbio, see what comes back.
Yeah.
So with Phil, great, highly recommend. I think any VDAC's office is pretty good. Can't recommend enough to go to Wisconsin. Especially, don't go in the wintertime unless you're crazy. I was there in end of June through July, 90 degrees, nice little breeze. I would go back if it wasn't like negative 30 right now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it sounds like you had 2 very diverse experiences.
Yes.
How did you hone in on deciding who you wanted to extern with? Was it word of mouth, school emails? How did you find those externships?
So, for my public corporate, it was, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I had 2 externships to fill after second year, and I didn't want to use both of them as like a clinical practice externship because it's the end of second year, you don't know that much, and I wanted to save a couple that maybe you know a little more going into fourth year, or hopefully you do, and can use it as like a working interview. So I saved one. So then I had to get rid of one, not get rid of, but trade it in for a public corporate. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. Some people went to Withville, contacted them and said, hey, I want to do an externship. And they said, sure, come on, let's do it. So that one isn't a great story. A lot of students here end up at VDACs.
Yes, yeah.
And I think they all have pretty similar experiences. And then I wanted to do something large animal clinical medicine that was basically just a palpation 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Everyone that I've talked to says to be a good palpator, you got to get through 10,000 cows. So I thought, what's the best way I can start chipping away at 10,000 cows besides an hour once a week at school? So best way to do that is some big dairy practice, the big dairy states, New York, some in Florida. I didn't want to go to California. Didn't want to fly that far. Didn't want to go to New Mexico. New York, I've been to some dairies up there. Didn't have anything against them. I was between New York and Wisconsin, and one of my mentors somehow knew a vet in Wisconsin that they're both on the AETA board together.
Okay.
So they met through repro work.
Yeah.
And then he was like, you should go see Dr. Bendel. Go see Kent. And I said, I don't know who Kent is. Where's Kent? So,
oh my gosh.
I was planning on going, that's Dairy Doctors in Seymour, Wisconsin, I believe. They're 6 or 7 doctor practice, have some really big dairy herds. So originally I was planning on being there for 3 weeks. Well, they had other people planned, booked in for like that time frame. So they said you can either have the first week or you can have the last week. Which one do you want? And I said, I guess I'll take the first week. So I did the first week there, and then their office manager there, she's amazing. She said, we can't do all 3 weeks. We're happy to take you here for 1, maybe 2 weeks. Here's 5 other practices. So then I contacted other practices, and I think after the Jenga of scheduling, because one practice said I could take it the first week and the third week, but not the second. So I had to fill one the second, and then ended up filling one for the third as well. So 3 practices in 3 weeks. Was a little tough. Yeah. Because like the first week of an external, you're like kind of figure out who's who, and they're trying to figure you out. It's like the worst dating game ever. And then it ends in a week.
So accurate.
And then you're done. So then you got to go to a different one.
Yeah.
But she really helped me out, the office manager at Dairy Docs, and got me contacts for 3 other clinics. So I ended up spending 3 weeks there, and they were phenomenal.
Yeah.
Cannot recommend them enough.
Yeah. I think it's super important to value word of mouth. Like a lot of us, I feel like, find these incredible experiences just by listening to other people's experience, or in your case, obviously they knew other practices nearby and could highly recommend those. So I feel like that's very valuable. I also think, like VDAX is such a good public corporate option
Absolutely.
for students here. So many people do VDAX, so if you're looking for a good public corporate, or if you're at another school that does just some type of like non-clinical experience, VDAX or like a state lab is a great opportunity for that. So I know multiple people that went to VDAX, different locations, and had pretty good experiences like you're mentioning.
I will say for picking an external, and maybe I'm jumping the gun here, it's really, really daunting.
Yeah.
Especially if you're someone like me that I know I want to do mostly dairy practice, some beef practice. I wouldn't mind seeing some horses now and then. But I just want to go somewhere where that's a thing. It doesn't have to be this county in this state because that's where I need to be. I'm open to going anywhere.
Right.
And when you're looking at anywhere and everywhere, you have like somehow 6,000 options become like zero because it's just overwhelming.
Yeah.
So especially for your first external, or maybe second, third, whatever, pick somewhere maybe you don't want to end up forever.
Yeah.
Because at least for me, most of the people I've talked to, that first external, especially when you're learning to palpate, you're gonna suck.
Yeah.
It's gonna be bad. It was not a fun week and a half at first because I just felt like I didn't have enough of the background medicine yet to like participate in those conversations fully, which we're learning now this year.
Yeah.
And you didn't have enough time to be like a great palpator that you can say, okay, this cow is 42 days. I half the time thought she was spayed because like there was nothing in there I was feeling that made any sense. So I'm kind of glad that I went somewhere I didn't totally want to end up.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at all these places, I would definitely talk to mentors, other classmates, because there's just so many options. And a lot of these, at least in the large animal world, a lot of these practices, they fill up fast.
Yeah.
There aren't that many all dairy practices, all beef practices, whatever. But there's a decent amount of students trying to go to them. So you got to figure out where you want to go, kind of, and make those contacts semi-quickly. Because if not, I mean, if I would have made contacts with dairy doctors earlier, I probably could have stayed there for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But I was scheduling it like 3 months out.
Yeah.
Well, they've had stuff booked. When I was there in June, they probably had stuff booked for December.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a lot to think about. But
for sure.
Your first couple rotations, you're trying to figure out this whole like vet thing.
Yeah.
It's not a huge deal where you go at first, but
Yeah.
for fourth year looking forward, I'm already starting to work on stuff that's in next April.
Yeah.
So over a year from now, trying to make sure I get the externships I want.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about timing for sure, but I think you bring up a very good point, which is to set expectations realistically about those first rotations, because even whether it's an externship or an actual core rotation, especially for our school where we're going into clinics in our like the beginning of our third year, at the end of our second year, we do not know everything, and it is very humbling. So I like that you mentioned just finding a place where you're still going to learn something, but maybe not something that you're going to be wanting to interview, do a job interview for. So
I mean, and if you want to, that's totally fine. Just make sure you come back in your fourth year when you're like on it and you know what you're doing, and I don't remember like that 23-year-old kid that couldn't palpate a cow.
Yep.
Because currently, that's my reputation in Wisconsin.
I doubt that, but speaking of planning externships, was there anything that was an externship deal breaker for you? And it's okay if there wasn't, but anything that was a deal breaker that you said, I absolutely cannot do this as an externship?
Not insofar, no. I can't, off the top of my head, think of a true deal breaker, because I spent a lot of time on the front side and saying, like, I want to work at an all dairy or at least 95% dairy practice. So how can I fit that into an externship? So I think selecting places to even apply to is really, really important before you like actually make that contact and say, hey, I want to do this, 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 and this. And they're like, oh, well, actually, we can't do that, or we don't do that, and it's on our website.
Right.
So now you wasted their time, you wasted your time.
Right.
But as far as like a true deal breaker, I don't really have one.
Yeah. I think that for many people, there shouldn't really be a deal breaker starting out, as long as you have those clear objectives as to what you want your externship experience to look like. It should be pretty obvious from the get-go, if that practice is going to align with that. And there are obviously questions you can ask, and I feel like you get a pretty good idea just talking with the manager or whoever is setting up the externship about what you're kind of going to experience. So
I could see maybe there's more deal breakers on the small animal side, because there's such a continuum of medicine, more so in small animal, that you still have practitioners out there that are like doing radiographs on film in a dark room.
That's true.
Probably a deal breaker for me.
You know what? That is. What a great example.
But bovine medicine, for the most part, almost everyone has an ultrasound. Yeah. And if not, hint, hint, go to IMV, talk to somebody there, get you an ultrasound, take it with you on an externship. It made me a more confident palpator, because you could see what you were feeling and you made sure you were doing the right thing. But all in all, there's some small things that people do differently, but around the board, most of it that I've seen is the same. Yeah. So I could see stuff if I was tracking small animals that I don't want to go there. Yeah. But in large animal medicine, I'd say the biggest deal breaker would be caseload. Yeah. That if you're okay, I want to see beef, dairy, horses, and small ruminants, you're probably not going to find a practice, or it would be really hard to find one that does all of those on the daily. Right. Yeah, that's very true. But hopefully that's something you're looking at before you even apply. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely need a lot of research before you go ahead and apply. Yes. Speaking of applying, a lot of things I think that are confusing around externships is really related to the timeline, which we've kind of already discussed. How early do you think students should realistically start planning externships? It definitely depends on where you want to go. When I was looking at externships, a couple of the guys that I work with did externships at a dairy practice in California and said, you definitely got to go there. You got to get there sometime. You got to go. So I said, okay, I guess I'll look into it. Well, I looked into one, I forget the practice name, but I contacted them 4.5 months before the externship, and they said, we'd love to have you eventually, but we're currently scheduling externs at 16 months out. Oh my gosh. Luckily, I still might try and go there, maybe. Luckily, that was last summer, about this time last year. Yeah. So it was still in second year that now you know that. Yeah. But if it was if we just did externships third year summer and all of fourth year, there's almost no way you can get to that practice. Yeah, no. But I think that 4 or 5 months for most of your practices is probably pretty good, unless they're that 1 in a million, just awesome, crazy, huge practice that takes maybe one extern. Yeah, yeah. And there's people from every school in the country trying to go there because they're the dairy practice. Right. But I'd say 4 or 5 months. Yeah. Just to chime in on my experience, I do think that, like we've mentioned already, research is really important because for me, there was one ASPCA internship or externship, that I really wanted to do that as soon as it opened, we did not have our clinical schedule, so I had to wait to apply. Yep. And that delay, I wasn't able to get a spot. And I still applied probably over a year in advance, and over a year, and I didn't get the spot. So it does kind of depend. I know zoos are also really high in demand, and you have to apply a year and a half in advance or even more. So it does depend on the externship, and it definitely depends on the organization. But I think the sooner the better, especially for those types. But in other cases, it doesn't matter. And you can always find an externship. There's always going to be a practice that will literally take you off the street. Yes. It may not be the best. It might not be exactly what you want. Yes. You'll still learn something. You might love it. You might end up working there. Weirder things have happened. No, so true. So true. So I would recommend applying as early as possible. It also depends on your school and when they give you your schedule, because you can't do anything until you get your schedule. But one thing I would recommend for students here, if you want to do a zoo or something like ASPCA that requires you to
plan really far in advance. I would recommend doing that your 4th year and then just locking in that block as an externship. So you can apply for that whenever the externship application opens and then hopefully get it. And then later on when they ask you for your priority ranking of like what blocks you want to lock in, you can just lock in the externship block and you'll be good to go. And they usually give those pretty easily. So
especially externships. Some of the smaller specialty rotations are a little harder to lock in, but externships I feel like they're usually pretty good about.
What resources are there for students to search for externship opportunities?
So at least here we have the intranet.
Yes.
And there is an externship resources link
yes.
that pretty, as far as I know, every student since 10 years ago that's ever gone on an externship, it gets put in that database.
Yeah.
And then they also have it sorted by like small animal, mixed animal, public, corporate, beef, dairy, equine, whatever. I didn't find that overly helpful just because there's so many on there.
Yeah.
And some of the links are from like one person went there 8 years ago and the clinic has changed hands or changed names and the website isn't the same and they have the link in there. But plug for AABP, if you are a student member of AABP, I assume American Association of Swine Veterinarians would be the same, or equine veterinarians practitioners. They do have an externship link that like if there's practices out there, and there are quite a few, that say we really like having externs, we want externs, they'll put that up there and it'll tell you everything you need to apply, what the practice is like, the link to their website, what they want in your application. Just send them an email, call them. Sometimes you can apply through that portal.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at you want to be a bovine practitioner, large animal, mixed, whatever, and you're looking for species-specific externships, I would pay the $30 and join AABP.
Yeah.
Because they also parse it out by all dairy, dairy beef, just beef. There's some equine externships in there. There's some mixed animal that's 60% dairy, 40% small. And then typically, from some of the places I've talked to, they'll say they're 70% beef and 30% small. That doesn't mean you have to do 70% of your time there as dairy or beef or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Once you're there and you're there for 3 weeks, 99% of the time they're going to kind of let you tailor your externship to what you want to do. Yeah. That if you really like doing dairy stuff, but you've had 6 weeks of dairy and you want to do some dairy to keep those skills up, but you're really lacking in that small animal radiology or medicine, or how do you manage X disease in this setting, most of the time they're going to say, well, then just stay here in small animal for the day.
Yeah.
So just because you want what they advertise as isn't what you have to do. Because in my head, when I was looking at that, I was like, okay, the one clinic I went to, they have a small animal clinic attached to it.
Oh, really?
And the way they had it advertised was it's 60% dairy, 40% small animal. And I said, I don't want to do small animal. That's not why I'm driving to Wisconsin. I can do that in Virginia.
Yeah.
And then once I contacted them, they were like, you can do whatever you want. If you want to just be in a truck all day, be in a truck all day. If you want to be in the clinic all day, be in the clinic all day. If you want to mix, do a mix. I never once stepped foot in the small animal clinic. But the option was there.
I don't know if this happens at other schools too, but we do kind of get emails occasionally about possible externships. I do recommend opening those emails and checking them out. Even if you're like, I don't want to go to New Mexico or whatever, just see what the opportunity is like. I mean, if they offer a stipend, if they offer housing, that makes it more enticing. So just being aware of those opportunities is super helpful. But I definitely would look into if your school has some type of database or joining an organization like AABP as well. So
that does bring up a great point that I kind of glazed over. Not necessarily a deal breaker, but housing is huge.
Yeah, for sure.
It's absolutely huge. Because you can, if they don't provide housing, for me, it has to be an absolutely amazing, once in a lifetime, I have to go to this clinic opportunity. because we're already paying tuition.
Yep.
You got to pay to get there.
Yeah.
And then you're spending $600, $700, $800 a week on an Airbnb.
Right.
And you also are on an externship, so you can't make money.
Yep.
So now, what was like typically in vet school, your time to make money is through the summer.
Yep.
And now I'm paying
Yep.
out-of-state tuition, however much that is, gas to get to Wisconsin. And then if I would have had to pay for 3 weeks of housing in Wisconsin, I don't know if I could have done it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we are going to talk more about that. But let's move into the details of securing an externship. You've already talked a little bit about how you reached out to these people, how you heard about them, how you emailed them and talked to them on the phone. Did you have to follow up to get a response from them, or did they immediately respond and you were able to secure the externship?
All of them that I applied to, I didn't have to be like, hey, did you see my email? They did get back to me. Some of them got back to me and said, sorry, we can't.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, I totally understand, clinics are busy, office managers are busy.
Right.
The top thing on their priority list is not getting an extern scheduled
For sure.
7 months from now.
Yeah.
So some of that was a little nerve-wracking, that they said I could come for that set time, but then for like 5 months, you didn't hear anything. I don't totally know what I expected them to say, besides like, hey, you're still coming, right? But there were some that I reached back out to, the first clinic I was at, and was like, hey, just so we're all in, I know we're talking the same language. I'm going to be here these dates, and that's still good. But none of them I had to email back or call back. Everyone got back to me within, I'd say, a week.
Wow. There is so much value to what you're saying. There is so much value to what you're saying, because just so everyone's clear, like he said, we are not their top priority. So if you do not hear back, just send another email. I don't know why some people don't want to be the squeaky wheel, but I feel like it's necessary sometimes. Just send another email.
It is really tough, because there's two ways that I was looking at it, that I don't want to be the squeaky wheel and be a pain in the ass before I even show up.
Yeah.
And then you get there. But at the same time, if the answer's no, that's totally fine. But I got to go find something else now.
Yeah.
So that week and a half that you're waiting, you're like, do I email you back? Do I just sit on my hands and wait? But if it's no, I got to go somewhere else to fill this 3-week block.
Yeah.
So that was a little tough. But I think the longest I waited was 10 days.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. I have definitely waited longer than that. So I'm very glad that you had...
come to the large animal side, people.
Yo.
Everyone's so much nicer.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. But basically, moral of the story, hopefully you guys get a response when you reach out. And if you don't, definitely follow up if you are able to. Mm-hmm. When you did have a conversation with these places before you externed with them, did you ask any questions about how much hands-on experience you would have? What kind of was that conversation like between those two practices?
There really wasn't one.
Yeah. But see, you almost didn't need to have one, at least for the dairy, because you knew that you were going to a place with a very large caseload of dairy. So
every practice I was at besides one, 2 of them were 100% dairy.
Right.
And there is no such thing that I'm aware of is a dairy haul-in practice.
Right.
So mostly on the large animal side, I've heard some exceptions that they're not totally comfortable letting students do that much.
Yeah.
They're more than happy to have that truck time and talk through cases, but when it comes time to actually do something, they're not as comfortable. But every place I was at, they were comfortable letting me do whatever I felt comfortable doing.
Okay.
Which was great. Mm-hmm. And I think I don't know, I've never done a small animal externship. Yeah. I don't plan on it. I think that's a little more rare on the small animal side.
Yes.
And I get it. But I never ask the questions like, well, am I just going to have to stand there and watch?
Yeah.
Or what does a day in the extern look like? Because you wake up, you get in the truck, you go to a farm, you're probably going to do a herd check, maybe some sick cows, a DA, whatever comes in, go home, wake up, and do it again.
Yeah.
So I already had in my head what that looked like.
Yeah.
And most of the time, that's pretty conserved among large animal practices. But as far as small animal, I have no advice. I have no idea.
Yeah. No, I think you bring up some great points, which is first, it goes back to the research. You need to research and make sure that this is a practice that will probably have the experience that you're looking for. So in your experience, you were looking for a large dairy practice, and that's what you found, and so you pursued that. I do think there is a lot of truth to what you're saying about small animal practices. I did have an externship this summer, and I did have it with a corporate organization, and I do think that helped a little bit because their externships are a little bit more structured.
Right.
They're used to having externs, and they kind of have a plan for externs. It still was a little bit less hands-on experience than I was expecting, but I do think there is a lot of value to advocating for yourself in those externships because they don't know you, and you're trying to build that trust and understanding like in a very short window of time. So you really have to advocate for yourself. I jumped in, tried to do PEs, took histories. I asked to scrub in on surgeries. In the surgery, I asked to suture something. I mean, the worst that they can say is no.
Right.
So I do think that you'd have to advocate for yourself. I think for some externships, it does warrant a conversation beforehand, especially in small animal, just to be like, is this going to be a good fit? I know I set up one in 4th year that I basically had a conversation on the phone with the manager, and I was like, hey, I am really looking to get exotic experience during this externship. This is what this block is for. I know you guys do small animal and other things, but I want to see exotics.
Right, as much as I can.
And he was the specific doctor that does exotics, so I said, I want my majority of the time to be with you. Because if you're the one that sees exotics, I want to be seeing the exotics. So I do think that there is a time and a place to have a conversation with those practices.
Totally agree. And going back to what you said earlier, whether it's an external, whether it's in-house, at your vet school, wherever it may be, do not be the person that stands in the corner and does nothing and then complain that you didn't get to do anything. Because especially that first week, you're trying to figure out where everything's at because you've never been in this clinic before, or here you're in a barn for large animal medicine. I don't know where any of this stuff's at, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But if you're going to stand there with your hands in your pockets and you're scared to jump in, which I get the trepidation there, that I don't want to get in your way because this is your job.
Yeah.
And something's going on. But clinicians are also trying to figure you out that are you the doer or are you going to go do easy vet? Both things need to get done. But you got to figure out who's who, and if you can kind of jump in as fast as you can, you're going to get more responsibility, more opportunities, because they see you at least trying for it instead of waiting to be asked. Because a lot of the times, I think, especially in practices that don't have externs all the time, they're not used to having somebody that's like, oh, I forgot, do you want to close the skin on this?
Yes.
Because there's no one, and ever someone here to close the skin.
Yeah.
So if you can jump in, try and figure something out, ask questions.
Oh, ask questions for sure.
Especially in an ambulatory practice, you're going to have a lot of windshield time just sitting there. Don't just sit there and stare out the passenger side window like you don't want to be there. If you can't think of a question to ask about, and it's a beef farm or a dairy farm, ask about their management, their husbandry. Find something to talk about, and you're going to learn so much just sitting there having case rounds between farms.
Yeah.
And then when something comes back up, you've been engaged, you're looking for stuff to do, they're going to give you more opportunities to actually do something.
Yeah, there is
That's my soapbox on that.
No, there is so much value to what he just said. I hope you guys heard it. And if you didn't, go back and listen to it again, because that is going to help you have a great externship experience or on an internal at school. But back to externship logistics. How did you manage housing, finances, and travel for your externships?
So, travel, I was in Withville, which is 35, 40 minutes south of here. Okay. So that I drove every day. Okay. The other reason I wanted to go to Withville was a little selfish, because there's 5 VDAX labs. Harrisonburg's the main lab, the biggest lab. Yeah. Withville's probably the smallest one, but they do a ton. The other reason I wanted to go there is because I didn't want to pay 6 weeks of rent and not live in my house. Yeah. And I could drive it every day. Yes. So I just drove every day.
That's not selfish. That's very reasonable.
For Wisconsin, every place I was at either had housing in the clinic, or actually the one place I was at, I learned what a supper club is. Didn't know what it was. It's very much a Wisconsin thing, apparently. It's not like a club that you have to be a part of. It's like you go to the supper club and you check in, and then you go to the bar and have a couple drinks, and then they're like, oh, your table's ready. Then they have like, this is the menu. Like there's 4 things, and then that's what you eat, and then you have dessert, and then you leave. It's like a 3-hour experience. I thought it was weird. But the second clinic I was at, someone's friend or something had an apartment above the supper club. So I stayed above the supper club for a week, and it was hilarious because the place didn't close till midnight. So then they were doing dishes till like 1, and then most of the time herd check started at like 4:30 or 5, so we were up at 4 or 3:30.
Oh my gosh.
It was hilarious. Learned what a supper club was. The third place, what was the third place? Oh, the third place, I actually stayed with one of the vets. They have externs there all the time, and his kids had like moved out of the house, and he was like, well, we have externs here all the time. We're a 5-doctor practice, so we really only ever have one extern. So he just like renovated his basement to be the externship layer. So there's constantly people in and out. It is a little weird at first because you're like, hey, I'm going to work with you all day and slow you down, and we're going to get home late, and then I'm going to live in your house and eat your food, which is weird, but it's fine. After like a day or two, I didn't think it was weird anymore.
Yeah.
But for really, the only thing I had to spend was like gas money to get to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And then like food for lunch, whatever. But any money I did spend, since, I mean, we were on 15 weeks, so we had like a week off for the whole summer. So like gas money came out of loans.
Yeah, for sure.
Which sucks. But it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, and I think what you're saying is very important, because I do think it is very important that they provide housing if you're going to be going super far.
Yes.
And if it's somewhere that's drivable, I would be driving. Yeah. I know a lot of people that did end up driving maybe even like an hour to go up to Roanoke for externships. And that kind of sucks. But 30 minutes, that's doable. So.
Yeah, 30 minutes wasn't bad.
A lot of people believe externships can be a great way to secure jobs after graduation, and I agree. How important do you think externships are for networking and future job opportunities, and what do you think is the best way to leave a good impression? And you kind of mentioned this earlier, but...
Super important. I think probably more so in the large animal world. Everybody knows everybody. I don't know how. I was in Wisconsin. I didn't know anybody from Adam. And somehow one of the farmers there knew one of the guys I knew from back home. Extremely small world.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, really important in the large animal side especially to leave that good impression, to be able to... You might be scared. I mean, there were times that he was like, you want to cut a DA? And I said, I've never cut a DA. He said, well, I didn't ask if you've done one before. I asked if you wanted to do it. Fair. That's on me. But jump in and do it.
Yeah.
Because even if you never want to work there, if you turn in your resume and you said, well, I did an externship at Dairyland Veterinary Practice.
Yeah.
They might know that guy.
Yep.
Could have went to vet school with him.
Yep.
Could have worked with him at a different practice. Would know him from AABP. Any number of things. And they call him up and be like, you know anything about this kid? And the answer is either going to be, nope, don't remember him. Probably not a great sign. B, yeah, he sucked. Or C, awesome, I wish I could have hired him. So I think going through this externships, just putting your best foot forward, jumping in, doing something, don't be afraid. Also, don't be afraid to say, I don't know, or I need some help on this. Because you don't want to be the one that's like, yeah, I can do this, and then you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
And then for future jobs, I can't speak a whole lot on that considering I don't have one.
Not yet. Not yet, but you will.
But I think doing an externship is great for both parties involved, because you get to figure out what that practice is like.
Yeah.
You're there for here 3 weeks, other schools 2 weeks, and you can learn a lot in 3 weeks of how the practice flows, what the workload's like, what the people in the area are like, what the farms you're going to be working on are like, and then they can figure you out, and do you fit in that clinic? And like Dr. Savage, we've talked about all the time.
Yeah.
a lot of it is how well do you fit into that clinic? Because there's 7 doctors there. One of the practices I was at, there were 7 doctors. The one that's been there the least has been there 9 years.
Oh, wow.
So they're pretty well doing what they're doing and set in their ways.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way.
No, for sure.
But that's just how their clinic runs. And if you don't fit into that, you're never going to change it.
Yeah.
At least I wouldn't think.
No.
When they've been working together that long. And you're just not going to like it. So if you can figure out, do I fit in here? Would I even want to work here? And you get 3 weeks to do that, that's huge.
Yeah.
Because in that externship, if you're like, actually, you know what? I hate this.
Yeah.
It's only 3 weeks.
Yep.
If you love it,
Yep.
awesome. Talk about, it also gets really weird that I haven't figured out yet. How you bring up like anybody retiring anytime soon? Anybody leaving?
Yeah.
Are you going to expand your
hiring?
practice? Yeah. Can I work here if you're hiring? Like, I don't know how that conversation goes. I haven't really experienced that yet.
Do you have any practices that you're going to that you would want to work at in 4th year?
This is the issue, Grace, that I've talked about before. I don't know where I want to go. I kind of know
like location-wise.
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of know what I want to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes that changes daily. But it's so hard. And it's
Yes.
kind of intimidating.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it was intimidating applying for externships last summer. But those were kind of like low stakes externships. You're going to get your feet under you, figure some stuff out. But now that, because I have some that are like 2 or 3 blocks before graduation, now what?
Yeah,
so I'm like kind of sitting on my hands, saving that last one in case something pops up or I want to go back to a clinic.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I think it's very valid, though, to not know for sure where you want to go after you graduate and also not know what you want to do. And that makes externships feel very high stakes at times.
Absolutely.
I'm in the same boat. So
I wish someone would say, you have to live in this state.
Yeah.
And then it'd be fine.
Yeah.
But I could go to Wisconsin for a while, maybe. Florida would be fine. Georgia. Yeah. I could go home to Pennsylvania. I could go to New York. There's great dairy pockets in New York. New Mexico is probably too hot for me. But and anywhere in between, a lot of places are hiring. And I've also thought about looking at, also on AABP, you can access as a student, go join. You can see job postings. Yeah. And I've thought about planning externships around places that are currently hiring.
Yeah.
Just as for my first job, whether it's 50 years or 2 years, I'll go anywhere. I just want a job.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
That'd be really nice. I got loans to pay.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know how this question started.
I'm just asking about 4th year and if you had any lined up that you wanted to.
Oh yeah, for job offers. Long story short, I have no idea.
And that is okay. It's so normal. It's so normal. I'm in the same boat, okay? So I just want to normalize that for anyone. You can have some that are not going to be leading to a job offer. Also, I know quite a few 4th years that just cold emailed people. They'd never talked to them before, like never seen them for an externship and got job offers. So there are also other ways to do it.
People are desperate out there.
No, they are desperate, but obviously being able to spend 3 weeks with a clinic is going to be super helpful. So if you have a clinic in mind, definitely prioritize setting something up with them.
Totally agree.
So we have a lot of second years coming up on their first 5 clinical rotations this summer. So I want to wrap up with giving some externship advice to them specifically. What's something you wish you had known before your first externship that you would want to pass on to them?
Something I wish I knew. One thing that I think is really important to keep in mind is for that first externship, you might have 1, you might have 2. If you have 2, I'm a big proponent of doing your public corporate and saving 1. But when it's that first externship, it feels like you have to get absolute all of the juice out of that thing. Yeah. Your first externship might suck, and that's fine. Yeah. That's why you got 6 more. Yep. And if you were like, you know what, I'm a food animal tracker, I want to do beef and you go to an all beef practice and you said, actually, this freaking sucks. I hate this. That's fine. That's part of what an externship is for.
For sure.
Figure out what you don't want to do, which we talked about the last time I was on here. Or if you know exactly what you want to do. I think the best thing that has helped me out so far is I know I want to do large animal, and you have to just go start chipping away at that 10,000 cows. Because then when you come, at least here for third year, we're at the dairy farm once a week, palpating cows.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to feel like I needed to learn everything I needed to know at the dairy once a week for 2 hours.
No.
I also didn't want to feel behind.
Yep.
So if there's something you're like, this is absolutely what I want to do, go start doing that now, because either A, you'll hate it, and you'll figure something else out, and you learned it early that you don't like it, or B, you'll have an extra 16 months on other people getting good at what you want to do.
Right.
So if you have a really particular interest, I would go do that, throw yourself into it for 3 weeks and see what happens.
Love that advice.
That's the best I got.
No. So to summarize kind of everything we've talked about today, we encourage you guys to do your research on externships beforehand. Make sure it's in a location that's going to be feasible for you, that they offer housing or a stipend that makes it more accessible to you. Make sure that it aligns with something you want to do. And it's okay to get into that externship and absolutely hate it or want to change your mind. That's the whole purpose of externships. So definitely set your expectations at a reasonable level, and it's okay to change your mind. I think that's kind of what I got out of today's conversation.
That's about all I have to say.
Yeah.
You summed it up well.
That was so valuable. I know that they're really gonna take your advice and they're gonna run with it. And just another thing to add is be present, ask questions, advocate for yourself, and you will get more out of your externship experience.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, with that, my name is Grace Gaynor, and I just interviewed Eric Marker, and we are Scrubbing Out. That's a wrap for today's episode of Scrubbed In, the DVM Journey. Thanks for tuning in and being a part of our community of future vets and animal lovers. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. It helps others find the show and join the conversation. And if you have any questions or topics you'd love to hear about, feel free to leave us a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep scrubbing in, and remember, the journey to becoming a DVM is one step at a time.